Once upon a crown-snatching century, a teenage princess from Germany packed her bags, barely spoke a lick of English, and was shipped off to marry the King of England. Her name? Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz. Her job? Secure the monarchy, pop out heirs, and keep calm and royal on. Charlotte wasn't born with a tiara on her head. She came from a tiny duchy, barely a blip on the map, and boom, suddenly she's on a boat to Britain, chosen to marry King George III, who, let's not sugarcoat it, would later become medically unhinged. But why did England hand over its crown jewels, aka King George III, to someone so minor? Simple. Politics needed peace. Charlotte was Lutheran, apolitical, and from a neutral backwater. No threatening alliances, no complicated dynastic baggage. She was the safest pick in Europe's game of marital chess. But what no one expected, that this quiet duchess would end up ruling his heart and history. And yet, sparks flew. Weird? Maybe, but real. They met on their wedding day in 1761 and were married 6 hours later. No time for a swipe right, no romantic courtship, just signatures and a coronation playlist. But guess what? It worked. George canceled all his side chick options and stayed faithful. In a royal court crawling with affairs and mistresses, Charlotte was it. Period. This man chose monogamy. Yes, you heard right. The King of England, surrounded by temptation and mistresses in every dynasty, said nope. Just Charlotte. And he meant it. George had front row trauma seats to his dad's mistress circus and said, nope, not doing that sequel. He pledged fidelity and actually stuck to it. No royal side chicks. No second households. Just him and Charlotte, making babies, 15, building botanic gardens, writing music, and talking Enlightenment philosophy. This woman had range. Charlotte didn't just survive palace life, she ran it. She was witty, sharp, and politically aware, even if she stayed behind the scenes. Fluent in music, fluent in reason, and always surrounded by intellectuals. She loved botany, so much Kew Gardens literally bloomed under her influence. She supported artists, scholars, and progressive thinkers. When Mozart visited as a kid, she accompanied him on the harpsichord. And behind closed palace doors, she and George shared the same core: order, family, morality, restraint. They weren't flashy, but they were fierce in their ideals while also dealing with the growing storm of her husband's mind unraveling. Yes, let's talk about the madness. George III's mental health spiraled. What we now suspect was porphyria, and it was no royal secret. He talked nonstop, foamed at the mouth, and once tried to shake hands with a tree. Parliament panicked. The court was horrified. And Charlotte? She stayed. While everyone else tiptoed away, she became his shadow, shielding him, soothing him, even when he didn't recognize her. She was locked out of his chambers for safety, but never left the grounds. She defended his image, protected the crown, and suffered in silence as her partner faded in and out of lucidity for years. This was not a marriage of convenience anymore. This was ride or die, through breakdowns, betrayals, and babies. And though he was the one officially mad, Charlotte was the one who lost everything in slow motion. The man, the love, the trust, but never her loyalty. Charlotte died in 1818, with George, blind, deaf, and long lost to madness, still technically king, but no longer present. And here's the heartbreaker. When they told him she'd passed, he cried. For days. Somewhere, deep inside the confusion, he knew. She was gone, and so was the last tether to his former self. So yes, she was a political pawn, but she became his partner, his anchor, his quiet queen of light in a world that would collapse around them both. Because sometimes, the real love stories aren't flashy. They're faithful, fragile, and utterly unforgettable. And let's not forget the cultural whisper that's still shaking up royal history books. Was Queen Charlotte Britain's first biracial queen? Some portraits show her with distinctly African features. Historians have pointed to her Portuguese ancestry, specifically a black branch from the 13th century Iberian nobility, as a possible clue. Is it fact? Is it fan theory? We can't say for sure, but it inspired Shonda Rhimes to give us Bridgerton's regal icon with melanin and steel in her spine. And suddenly, the world remembered Charlotte wasn't just another powdered wig queen. She was layered, a foreigner turned royal, a quiet feminist before it was a thing, a woman who loved deeply, lost slowly, and still held her dignity like a crown. So no, Charlotte didn't lead armies. She didn't spark scandals. But she mothered a monarchy, weathered a man's madness, and lived a legacy that's still rewriting history books and Netflix scripts. The verdict? She married a king, stayed for the chaos, and proved that strength isn't always loud. Sometimes, it just holds on through hell and heartbreak. Now that's a queen with layers.